Hi, and after a long hiatus, welcome to an Average Joe hockey report, the first average hockey report of 2022. The reason for my hiatus was a combination of World Juniors being canceled due to Omicron, and I've been busy come Christmas time, obviously, because my brother came in from Chicago, Illinois, in mid-December. He only left Tuesday morning this week, so yeah. So in this video, we're gonna talk about how I'm uh, hit and mix with my narratives on players, my opinions on players, and we're going to talk about 5 narratives that I've been right about and 5 narratives that I've been wrong about. We're going to start with the 5 narratives that I've been right about. There's not necessarily a ranking system. It's just an order that I've more or less put in. All right. Narrative. Okay, the first narrative I'm going to talk about is Rasmus Ristolainen and Alain Vigneault are not a good pairing. And sure enough, Rasmus Ristolainen, 31 games, 1 goal, 7 assists for 8 points, and Alain Vigneault has been fired, so I've been right in that case. Next narrative. If Tony Giangelo focuses on hockey and smartens up, he can actually be a good addition for the Carolina Hurricanes. And so far, no troubles so far, and 22 points in 24 games for the Carolina Hurricanes. That's chalk up another win for me. Narrative number 3 that I've been right about. Sergei Bobrovsky has time to turn his game around. The last couple of seasons have not necessarily been the greatest for Sergei Bobrovsky, but however, in this season, a 2.45 goals against and a .921 save percentage makes me right about Bobrovsky. So that's chalk up a third win there. Narrative number 4. Once again, it's Carolina Hurricanes related, but my opinion was Frederik Andersen has a chance to bounce back with the Carolina Hurricanes. So far, a 1.92 goals against and a .929 save percentage has proven me right. I'm not surprised that Anderson's having a great season with the Hurricanes, and that's why I had that narrative about him. Now let's go over. Oh, sorry. The last one I want to go over is the Carolina Hurricanes as a whole. I said that despite all of their questionable moves in the offseason, that I think that the Carolina Hurricanes will still do really good and even possibly win their division. And so far I've been right that they're only 1 point out of the division lead in the Metropolitan Division, which I'm not surprised it's a dogfight going on. And yeah. So yeah. Now let's talk about the 5 narratives that I've been wrong about. Starting with the narrative about Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Now, don't get me wrong. I knew that the acquisition of Ekman-Larsson was going to hurt the Vancouver Canucks in the long term, but I figured that Ekman-Larsson had a chance to at least turn his career around in the short term, and this was considering that I thought that Vancouver had more offense up on forward than the Arizona Coyotes did. However, it was foolish of me to believe that, as if you look at Nate Schmidt, who's having a great season with Winnipeg, much better than he's done with Vancouver, and sure enough, the same has happened with Ekman-Larsson, as only 6 points in 31 games gives me the L for that narrative. Next one, well, nobody foresaw this, but when the Philadelphia Flyers traded Shane Gostisbehere to the Arizona Coyotes for pretty much nothing, or future. I don't know if it was future considerations. It's basically nothing. Okay. They just basically said, please take him. We don't want him. Okay. Arizona said, sure. I thought he was done. I thought that it's like I said with Arizona's forward depth, or should I say lack of forward depth, lack of offense, whatever, like whatever that where there's that Gostisbehere is just going to continue to struggle or whatnot. But here we are, 31 games in, 6 goals, 15 assists, 21 points. That's already more than he's had in the past 2 seasons. And it's looking like he's going to break. The season high he's had was 32 points. And I don't know if he's going to reach that. However, it's looking like he could have a higher point total than he did in the past. For sure. He's already broken this. Like I said, he's already broken his last year's point total with 21 points, which he had 20 last season. All right. Lost narrative number 3, which was my hot take, that I thought that the Seattle Kraken were going to make the playoffs. And so far I've been dead wrong. They're at the bottom of the Pacific, mind you. I also did not foresee the Anaheim Ducks emerging as threats, basically, you know? Like, I knew Anaheim was going to be good in the future. I just didn't think it would be to come this season. The emergence of Anaheim and the rebounding of Calgary, when I thought Calgary was going to be really good last season, that surprised me. And is part of the reason why Seattle has not fared too well. I guess Seattle more or less needs to work on, getting more offensive power and like star power and whatnot. But anyways, yep. All right, narrative loss number 4. Darcy Kemper. Now, don't get me wrong. Darcy Kemper still has a good win-loss record. 15 wins and 5 losses. But it's been mostly the team in front of him that is the reason for those wins and losses. His goals against average is at 2.74, and his save percentage is at 0.908. So that's a loss for me, considering that I thought that Darcy Kemper would be the most underrated signing in the NHL in the offseason. And last but not least, everybody that follows this channel knows I'm not necessarily the biggest Jack Campbell fan, but I'm going to have to admit this. Now, okay, I'll admit this. I wasn't necessarily sure about his side-to-side movement, but I feel like this season he's actually shown some improvement in his side-to-side movement. And the narrative that I had about him was that I thought that, when he was playing against teams like, Tampa Bay, Boston, and Florida, that he would get exposed. However, a 1.87 goals against average and a .939 save percentage proves otherwise. It basically proves that Campbell is a legit goalie. I didn't believe that because, I felt he was in the weak Canadian division, but you look at those stats, and yep, and those stats are even better than last season's stats too. Now remember, there may have been some things in this video that you may have not agreed on and whatnot. And yeah, so remember, if I'm wrong, don't belittle me, educate me, because this is Average Joe Hockey Report, hockey opinions through the perspective of an average Joe. Don't forget also to follow my Instagram account, Average Joe Hockey Report, and my YouTube channel, Marty Tommy, in parentheses, Average Joe Hockey Report.